The year is 2025. Donald J. Trump, once again at the helm of American power, has wasted no time in making his mark. His weapon of choice? The executive order, a presidential tool allowing swift action without the need for congressional approval. While not as permanent as laws passed through Congress, executive orders carry significant weight, shaping policy and impacting millions. In his second act as president, Trump has wielded this power with fervor, targeting a range of issues close to his heart and his base. From the moment he retook the Oval Office, Trump made it clear that his agenda remained largely unchanged from his first term. He vowed to restore what he saw as American strength, both at home and abroad, often framing his actions as a necessary corrective to the policies of his predecessor, President Biden. His flurry of executive orders in the early days of his administration sent shockwaves through Washington and beyond, signaling a dramatic shift in the nation's direction. These orders touched upon a vast array of issues, from the deeply personal such as transgender rights, to the globally significant, like climate change. Each stroke of his pen aimed to unravel the policies of the previous administration and replace them with his own vision for America, a vision often rooted in his brand of conservative populism and his America First philosophy. The impact of these executive orders, both immediate and long-term, is still unfolding, but one thing is certain: they have left an indelible mark on the fabric of American society. Perhaps no issue is as synonymous with Trump's presidency as immigration. His hardline stance, evident in his first term, found renewed vigor in his second. One of his first acts was to declare a national emergency at the southern border, a move that granted him access to additional funds and resources to combat what he termed an invasion of illegal immigrants. This declaration set the stage for a series of executive orders aimed at tightening border security, limiting legal immigration, and increasing deportations. The border wall, a hallmark of his 2016 campaign, once again became a focal point. Trump ordered the resumption of construction, diverting funds from other government projects to fulfill his campaign promise. He also moved to restrict asylum claims, making it more difficult for migrants fleeing violence and persecution to seek refuge in the United States. His administration implemented a Remain in Mexico policy, forcing asylum seekers to wait in dangerous border towns while their cases were processed, a process that could take months or even years. Beyond the border, Trump targeted sanctuary cities, municipalities that limit cooperation with federal immigration enforcement. He threatened to withhold federal funding from these cities, arguing that they were harboring criminals and undermining the rule of law. His administration also sought to expand the definition of public charge, making it easier to deny green cards and visas to immigrants deemed likely to rely on government assistance. These measures, met with fierce opposition from immigrant rights groups and some legal challenges, represented a significant escalation of his administration's efforts to reshape the nation's immigration system. Trump's executive orders extended far beyond immigration, reaching into the heart of American society and reshaping the nation's social landscape. One of his most controversial moves was the elimination of diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI) programs across the federal government. These programs, designed to promote representation and address historical inequities, were deemed divisive and un-American by the Trump administration. In a sweeping executive order, Trump banned federal agencies from conducting diversity training that promoted critical race theory or other concepts he considered anti-American. He also moved to restrict federal funding for schools and universities that continued to implement DEI programs, arguing that they were promoting discrimination against white students. This order sparked nationwide protests from students, educators, and civil rights groups who viewed it as an attempt to silence discussions about race and inequality. Trump's social agenda also targeted transgender rights. Citing concerns about religious liberty and parental rights, he rolled back protections for transgender students in schools, including their right to use restrooms and locker rooms consistent with their gender identity. He also banned transgender individuals from serving openly in the military, reversing a policy implemented under the Obama administration. These actions, condemned by LGBTQ+ advocacy groups and many medical professionals, were seen as a direct attack on the rights and dignity of transgender Americans. Section 4. The World Stage and Beyond: Foreign Policy and Climate Change. Trump's America. First philosophy, a hallmark of his foreign policy during his first term, continued to guide his actions on the world stage in his second. he remains skeptical of multilateral agreements and institutions, often prioritizing bilateral deals that he believed served American interests above all else. This approach was evident in his decision to withdraw the United States from the Paris Agreement on climate change, a global pact aimed at reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Trump argued that the agreement placed an unfair burden on American businesses and workers while doing little to address the environmental practices of China and other major polluters. His decision to withdraw, while condemned by environmental groups and many world leaders, was praised by some in the fossil fuel industry and those who viewed climate change as a hoax. Domestically, he rolled back environmental regulations implemented by the Obama administration, arguing that they were stifling economic growth. Trump's foreign policy was also marked by a renewed focus on confronting Iran and other perceived adversaries. He reimposed sanctions on Iran after withdrawing from the Iran nuclear deal, escalating tensions in the Middle East. He also took a hard line against China, engaging in a trade war that had global economic repercussions. His relationships with traditional allies remained strained as he clashed with European leaders over trade and defense spending. Trump's foreign policy, characterized by its unpredictability and its emphasis on American power, left the world guessing about his next move. Section 5. Conclusion: a legacy etched in ink. In the annals of American history, Donald Trump's presidency will be remembered for its tumultuous nature and its lasting impact on the nation's political and social fabric. His use of executive orders, while not unprecedented, was notable for its frequency and its scope, touching upon a vast array of issues that continue to divide the nation. From immigration and healthcare to climate change and transgender rights, Trump's executive actions sought to undo the policies of his predecessors and replace them with his own vision for America. The full impact of these orders will continue to be debated and analyzed for years to come. Some argue that they represent a necessary corrective to government overreach and a return to conservative values. Others contend that they have eroded democratic norms, exacerbated social divisions, and damaged America's standing in the world. Regardless of one's perspective, there is no denying that Trump's executive orders have left an indelible mark on the nation, shaping the political landscape and impacting the lives of millions of Americans. His legacy, etched in ink and etched in time, will continue to be a subject of intense scrutiny and debate for generations to come.